it's Jim Skelly, and this is the Global Conversation. It's the seventh of our mini lectures for the current semester. I hope that you're all doing well. I know many of you have been working on midterm essays with regard to this course. I hope those have gone well, and that those of you who need to send them to me will be doing so in the next few days. I've received several already. But I look forward to reading them and giving you some both individual reflections and also more collective ones. We're starting to shift in the class itself now towards concern with energy resources. And there are a couple of things to point out to you. You should, if you're now moving towards last week we talked about Herman Daly's Economics in a Full World. This week we're especially concerned with oil, and there's a very good piece by Michael Clare, a short video, Will Resource Wars Look Any Different? Michael is one of the leading experts in the world on energy resources and resource conflicts. And I think you'll find this very, very interesting, not only for oil, not only with regard to oil, but with regard to water and other resources. So do take a look at the various pieces by Michael Clare, and also watch the video by George Monbiot on peak oil. What is going to happen when we start to pay enormous amounts of money for oil? Among other things, if you look at the United States and the way in which urban sprawl, suburbs, long commutes for people into cities to go to work, it's been totally dependent upon cheap oil. You cannot have the kind of commuting, if you will, that certainly in my family we had, and that I grew up with. My father used to travel 2 hours every day each way to get to work, and that was facilitated by the fact that energy costs were very low. Today they're getting higher and higher. They're much higher in Europe than they are in the United States. People here are shocked when I say to fill up the tank of what you call gasoline in the United States, and which we call petrol over here in Ireland and the United Kingdom, it costs the equivalent of $100 every time you fill up the tank. You can imagine what kind of political conflict that would create if that was happening in the United States today. And that's why there's ambivalence about companies like BP, the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, people are very much addicted to oil, even if they don't know that they are. Now, some good news this week. Quite surprisingly, because I was not optimistic about it, the United Nations biodiversity talks in Japan, in Nagoya, Japan, turned out to have produced some very, very positive results. They adopted a new United Nations strategy that aims to stem the worst loss of life on Earth since the demise of the dinosaurs. You're going to see there's going to be a lot of controversy about this. The most remarkable breakthrough, they say, was the adoption of what's called the Nagoya. Nagoya is the city that they met in. The Nagoya Protocol, which lays down ground rules on how nations should cooperate in accessing and sharing the benefits of genetic resources. This includes plants, fungi, and pathogens. Governments have been discussing this subject for 18 years, which is about as long as some of you have been alive. But it has been held up until now because it ran across issues of trade, health, traditional medicine and science, and pitted multinational pharmaceutical companies against indigenous communities. The protocol will see governments considering ways to provide compensation for genetic material and traditional medical knowledge collected in the past that is now being used, patented, and sold. This is likely to be done through a special fund for developing nations. The protocol is meant to come into effect in the year 2020, so 10 years from now, and needs to be ratified by a lot of nations. And we will see if the United States, of course, signs on to this protocol. And things are not looking good. That's the bad news this week. Things are not looking good with regard to U.S. government activity. Many people thought that the Obama administration would take a much more positive approach to solving some of the environmental problems that we face on the planet itself. But you should watch very carefully the elections which will occur tomorrow in the United States. That's Tuesday, the 2nd of November. Among other things, if the Republican Party takes control of the United States House of Representatives, they will change the committee structure. And what that means is that they probably will disband the Global Warming Committee in the United States Congress. So it's something that you should take a look at really be concerned. I suspect many people will not vote and then lots of disappointment with the government in Washington. But you should understand the distinction between the Republicans and the Democrats. I won't take a political position on this with regard to who you should vote for, but the Pew Research Center, which does a great deal of polling in the United States, last week showed that just 16% of those who consider themselves Republicans say the Earth is warming because of human activity. 53% of those who considered themselves Democrats thought that the Earth is warming because of human activity. So if the Republicans take control of Congress, you're going to see a big, big change. And you can expect that you will see a major assault on climate research, questioning the basic science of climate research, and you'll also see a great deal of investigation of the Environmental Protection Agency. So, take a look at those things. One piece of interesting news, I think, for some of you who enjoy spending time on the internet, is the release this week of a new serious game. Serious games are games that actually explore serious issues. And there's been a new one created called Fate of the World. Fate of the World, and I quote from some of the releases about it, puts players at the helm of a future World Trade Organization-style environmental body, which has the task of saving the world by cutting carbon emissions or damming it by letting soaring temperatures wreak havoc through floods, droughts, and fires. I'm going to send you a link to this, and hopefully we can get a few copies of it, and maybe some of us will even engage in playing with each other on this in this game and see what we might be able to do by way of educating ourselves to some of the issues, and they are complicated, and to see if there isn't a way in which we will educate ourselves to solutions to the problem of climate change, or as John Holdren says, climate disruption. That's all I have for this week. I hope you all, if you have questions, again, please get in touch with me. I hope, too, that you're able to make some progress on the Learning Circle projects. I know some of you have started making concerned comments about this in your Learning Circle discussions. It's good to start a focus. Somebody take charge and lay out a plan as to how you're going to proceed with the project, detailed tasks for different people, etc. It's not that complicated, but someone does need to take charge. All right, that's all I have for this week. Don't hesitate to be in touch. All the best.